Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Steven Inks, and today's video we are going to be talking about some pens that I recommend at a low price point. These pens are all, at the time of this recording, under $10 or right at about that amount. So what kind of pens can you get for art around the $10 mark that would be satisfying to use and that I've had good experience with? Keep in mind that my individual experience may not be the same as yours. Let's start a conversation, but not a fight, down in the comments. And I'm just going to give you my recommendations. So today's pens are filled with Diamine Sherwood Green ink. Diamine is a pretty good budget fountain pen ink company, so you can get a little bottle like this for not too expensive. There are lots of colors available, so hopefully you will find something that you like if you check out some of their offerings. You may notice that the colors are slightly off from each other. It's because sometimes little particulate matter of ink ends up in the pens as I clean them out and I add new inks in. So in general, it looks like my fingers right now. That's what color this is. Anyway, so for the data heads in the room, I'm going to talk about my rubric and some changes that were made. You could always skip ahead. There's time codes if you're not into how I came up with the rankings that I did. And the points will be shown as I talk about the pens. Basically, before I had a pen rankings rubric, I decided to change a few things. I did put the word reliability, I changed for flow because that's really what it's talking about. It's talking about how easy do lines show up when you come with this pen. And I got rid of value for money, especially for this particular pen set because we're talking about budget pens. So we've got 4 categories with up to 4 points available. The total number possible is 16. Just thinking about this when it comes to these pens, as I'm ranking them, I feel like I do need more points in my rubric. I might change it to 5 or even go as high as a scale of 10, just so that I get a little more variety. The bottom 2 pens in this category actually have the same score, and I just picked which one I liked better to put in there. So just to make this a little bit better in the future, we're probably going to add some more, and I'll always go over this or include it in my videos so you could see what am I basing this on? But of course, a lot of it is based on my personal opinion and my personal assessment of these pens. Your individual experience may vary. Please put that down in the comments. Let's talk about pens. Number 5 is the Pilot V5 high-tech point cartridge system. This pen is in fact a surprise entry for me. It's more of an anomaly than what I normally talk about because, as you can see, this is not a fountain pen. It is in fact a technical pen, and it has a little nib that's made of metal and has a roller ball on the end of it. It can, however, be filled with a pilot converter or pilot cartridge, meaning that it takes fountain pen ink and it can write with it. These pens cost between $5–6, not a very expensive pen. Again, at the time of this recording, prices may always change. But I found it to be pretty reliable, and I've made some drawings that I really like with it. I will say what keeps it down lower on this list, there's not a lot of variety to the line weight, and some of you may really appreciate fountain pen nibs and their smoothness, and you don't quite get that smoothness with this pen. Ink flow is also sometimes unreliable, but at the price, it's hard to beat. Number 4 is an absolute classic, the Platinum Preppy. This pen is actually my very first fountain pen I ever bought. I bought it about 8 years ago, and as you can see, it's still working perfectly fine, which is kind of incredible. I think that this one's a little bit lower on the list for me because even though it is a fantastic pen, a fantastic writer, it has had intermittent flow issues with certain more viscous inks, thicker inks, like ironically, Platinum Carbon Black. Sometimes it doesn't go very well with that ink. It's a waterproof pigment-based ink, and it's made by Platinum, makers of this pen. You also do need to get a converter if you want to refill your ink, and this is the Platinum converter, a converter that costs 2 times as much as the pen. The pen itself being, again at the time of this recording, about $6 US dollars, and the converter being close to $12 to 14 depending where you buy it. So there is a cost that for your startup point with this pen. It has been consistent over the years. It is made of plastic, so the barrel is a little bit prone to cracking if you're not very gentle with it. However, just for what it's worth, I've used this pen for about 8 years, and I'm not very gentle with my pens, as you can often see on this channel, and I found it to be, it's still working to this day, so that says something. Number 3 is the Pilot Kakuno. Now, you may think this would have gotten higher on my list. It's a very popular pen on this channel. My video upload of this pen, it has been seen about 30,000 times. This is the extra fine nib variety, and you can find it in fine and extra fine. The extra fine is a super thin line, but it's also nice and wet and easy to flow on multiple different types of paper. So it's a really smooth pen. And if you like wet writers, this is a surprisingly wet writer for an extra fine. You won't find much like it. One of the reasons why it's a little bit lower on my list, the build quality isn't super stable. If you are a fan of the environment, I have heard that these pens are made from about 80% post-consumer plastic. So even though it is a plastic pen, there's a little bit of a lower carbon footprint on this pen, which is another exciting thing. But I definitely highly recommend checking this one out. It can be a one pen purchase if you're just looking to have something that you can use all the time, but on the caveat that you do need it to be for super fine lines and high detail work. It's going to be hard to get a thick line out of this pen, pretty much impossible. So there's a little bit of lack of flexibility in what it is, but it's great for what it does. Number 2, the Jinhao 65. Now this pen right here is the only metal pen on the entire list that we have here today, and it's surprising that you can really get a metal pen at this price point. You can buy these in a 2-pack or even a 3-pack, I think, for less than $10. Keeping in mind, it's not a 100% metal pen. There are plastic parts, like for example, the section of this pen is plastic, and the internals, if you open it up to see the converter, it's plastic, and the part of the connection between the converter and the pen section is also plastic. I suppose that could break. It seems like a pretty solid pen. It can be uncomfortable if you really need something a little bit wider, thicker. It's a very thin pen. As a matter of fact, it's one of the thinnest pens I've ever seen. But it does post really nice on the back right here. You can see, wow, it just seamless post right there, which is really fun. And it means that you can hold the pen at a variety of angles. And that makes it a lot easier to hold further back if you're trying to make lines with your hand further back on the pen body, which for some people that's quite useful. I personally do that all the time. And so this pen is quite useful to me. A little bit on the thin side, and the internals don't look super solid, and I haven't had this pen for as long as some of the other ones I have, so I can't really speak to its durability yet. My impression is that I'll have to be gentle with this one. But it's a fantastic pen for the price. Again, hard to beat. Finally, my number 1 choice if you are not spending more than $10 on a fountain pen for art is, you hear me uncapping it, the Jinhao 82. This particular pen is modeled after the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. It's a very nice pen. It looks and feels fantastic. I actually, I own a Sailor Pro Gear Slim, the $200 pen that this is modeled after, and the bodies are very much close to identical. So excellent build quality. There's a solid nib as well. Jinhao usually makes pretty nice nibs. Sometimes you have to set them up. This one just started working right away. It can do forward and reverse writing, so that makes it so that you can get a multiple numbers of line weights as you're working with it. It's right in between a really wet and a really dry nib, which is kind of perfect for me. And it makes it easier for me to recommend it to a larger audience. I feel like more than likely, no matter who you are, if you're to try out this pen, you probably find that you enjoy it very much. So And it's also, I mean, it's gorgeous. Look at what it looks like. So this would be currently, out of all the pens that I own, this would be the #1 pen that I would recommend under $10 for creating art. And speaking of which, why don't we make some art with it right now?
If you'd like to know the inspiration for this drawing, recently my wife and I attempted, but were unfortunately unable to go on a glass bottom boat tour. And that may sound very strange to you if you do not live near sort of a touristy ocean area, but we happen to live in one of the most biodiverse marine biological environments in the world, actually. And it's a pretty common thing around here to have glass bottom boat tours, where you go and you see the bottom of the ocean as you're riding along in this boat, where the bottom of the boat is made of glass. And it's a really interesting peek inside our oceans and what's there, and it's surprisingly, there's a lot to see when you go and do something like this. But unfortunately, we weren't able to go this time. We're planning on going again in a few weeks, but it made me think, what would it be like if a fish wished to see the human world much in the same way that we wish to see the fish world in a glass bottom boat? And so that's where this drawing came from. I think it's got a little bit of a Richard Scarry vibe, with my own style kind of pushed in there, of course. Let me know what you think. I think that as a test for this inexpensive pen, it was a good idea because there's lots of details, and though I'm not really great at perspective drawing sometimes, and drawing busy detailed things like cities has never been my forte. It's something that I wish I was better at, so that's why I'm practicing it now. But I don't think that the pen held me back in any way. I feel like I tend to draw the same whether I'm holding a $200 pen or a $10 pen. And even though sometimes more expensive pens do kind of give me more flexibility, how much flexibility do you need? This is more than enough for me. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below, and thank you for watching.
For final thoughts, any of these 5 pens would be a fantastic buy if you're looking to get started on fountain pen art. It's a really fun medium. It's something that it's brought me a lot of joy in the last few years that I've been doing it. And you got to start somewhere. So why not start cheap, figure out if you like it, and then you can build a collection over there to maybe more expensive or more varied pens. And I'm going to be doing a few more lists like this at different price points, keeping in mind that it is my personal opinion, and I would love to hear any dissenting or agreement type comments in the comments below this video. Be sure to recommend to newbies that are out there that are watching this what you recommend, so that we can get a full picture of what are the cheap pens out there that are a really great place to start up. You don't have to spend a fortune. And if you really enjoyed this video and you're looking forward to hearing at the different price points some of the other pens that I recommend, please like and subscribe. Look forward to more videos from me, and start a cool conversation down in the comments. You can find on my website, steveninks.com, my book, What Kind of Pen Is That? And you can also connect with me through there. And I would love to have you be a part of this little community that I'm building on this YouTube channel. Thanks everybody, and I will see you in the next video.